Aloha, I'm Lyla Berg. Mahalo for tuning in to Island Focus. We're here at the Honolulu Museum of Art to meet people who promote art as an important aspect of shaping our society. Thank you for joining us on Island Focus. So the Honolulu Museum of Art is more than a place to exhibit pieces of art.
Yes, it is. As Director of Advancement here at the museum, my job is part of fundraising. So what we're doing here at the museum is really developing programs through activities, through events. So we have important things going on this year. We have Palette, which really talks about bringing individuals into the museum post-pandemic. It's highlighting key restaurants and vendors in the artwork across the wide range of the museum through food, through artwork. And that's happening on August 27th. And then later on this year, we have our annual Come Aina Christmas, which is happening on December 10th. And part of that is we take those funds from those events, and it really helps us with art acquisition and the preservation of artwork here at the museum. So this past year, we did a campaign where we took a piece of artwork from up at Spalding House, and we preserved that artwork. It was called the James C. Wright number 14 mirror piece. The conservation of that costs about $25,000, and we did a great little campaign on the Day of Giving in November of last year and raised over $35,000 for that.
So the purpose for renovating that artwork and bringing it down was?
It's so that we can preserve and bring the artwork for the next generation and generations after that. We're looking to preserve that artwork so that future generations can enjoy the artwork for the next several hundred years.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us today, Halona. You know, here we are in the Chinese garden with the fountain behind us and the birds singing. As executive director, it must be a really wonderful place to work.
It's a wonderful place to work. I mean, it is an amazing surrounding environment, and it's a wonderful team that I work with, and it's a beautiful community that we live in. So all those things together make it very, very special.
Well, you have a lot of responsibilities, but also a lot of joys and opportunities. Please share a little bit more about what your role is.
Yeah, well, as the executive director, I work with the team and with the board to set the vision of the museum and take it forward and realize that in ways big and small. And for me, a constant joy is just the presence of art in our work here at the museum. And that takes so many different forms. You know, we have this incredible global collection that spans across history and time, and we're always looking for ways to tell new and interesting stories with what we have. We have had for a long time and continue to have a really dynamic educational program and offering of studio classes. And so there's so many different facets and ways that the art infuses our lives here, both for the team at HoMA and also in connecting with the community that we serve.
You know, growing up in Honolulu, we pass this building and this place every day. It's a very revered place, and at the same time, you're so open.
It's an oasis, you know, it's once you walk through these doors, you're embraced by the beauty of these courtyards, the natural setting, the intentionality of the architecture, the collection. And I think for us, it's always, you know, trying to strike the balance between recognizing this is a place that has been revered and can seem somewhat inaccessible at times, or like maybe that's for somebody else, but it really was created with the intention of being for this entire community. And that's what's inspiring to myself and the team as we look to take the museum forward.
What I know to be true about this place is it's also open to visitors and welcoming for people from all over the world.
That's exactly right. You know, we always seek to strike that balance, right, between this is very much a local institution for the local community, But of course, by the very nature of the collection that we have, which is global and spans, time and history, it also necessarily has a deep connection and a deep draw for people from all over the world, right? Really an international outlook and focus. So it's a dynamic and wonderful place, partly because it plays both of those roles.
How do you decide what is special to be exhibited in a certain time?
So we determine what we show in the collection and in our exhibitions through a very thoughtful and considered process, right? Where we seek input and we seek dialogue with experts and with community. But, there's a long art history, right, that informs all of the things that are collected and presented in this museum. And so we try and actively engage with that art history, both with scholars and with the community and with the experts that we have on staff. So it's a process.
What are some of the challenges that you face, especially as a nonprofit organization?
We want to be here for the community and we want to exist in perpetuity. And so those are lofty, lofty goals. And so we need the support of the community to survive and thrive. And we have a great community that embraces us. But for us as a nonprofit with a mission that is meant to last for all time, right? We're always tending to not just this particular moment that we live in, but really trying to create the best situation for the museum in perpetuity, so for decades and generations to come.
Many of us grew up believing that we didn't have any talent, but in this place, we can see that art comes in many forms.
Absolutely, art comes in many forms, and this museum was really founded on the celebration of that, on the celebration of human creativity, right? So whether that's the form of ancient ceramics or contemporary sculpture, it's really a devotion in this museum to all the different forms and mediums in this amazing setting with the courtyards and really an oasis in the center of Honolulu.
So if you had a parting message to the audience, what might that be?
I just, want people to know that this is a museum that is for everyone. It's a museum with an incredibly rich history, an amazing collection that really is celebrated internationally, globally. Our greatest blessing is to be able to share that with people, both visitors and locals. And so I can't wait to see everyone here at the museum.
Well, and what I appreciate is it's not only a peaceful place to come, but I'm always learning something new.
Yeah, I think creativity and education and learning, those are all the things that make life fun and enjoyable and enrich our blessings. So that's very much part of what we want to do.
And especially now as society is unfolding, right, and opening up again, what an opportunity we have to come here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We're so honored to have you here.
You've just had the opportunity to meet Halona Norton-Westbrook, Director and CEO of the Honolulu Museum of Art. So your role here at the museum?
Yes, I'm the Director of Curatorial Affairs. So I chart the strategic direction for all the curators. They all have specialties in different world cultures and expressions of about 5,000 years. So we have Japanese, Chinese, French Impressionism, American, Hawaiian, Buddhist art, you name it, we've got it.
And you decide when the exhibits will transfer or when they will change?
We try to constantly keep a really deep array of world cultures and time periods up, but we try to mix it up a lot. So there's always something fresh for somebody to see. We want you to come not once, but regularly and bring your friends and family and have conversations in the galleries about what does this mean to you?
So, for instance, we would look at this photograph, this painting, and we would see it differently.
Yes.
But you would want us to talk about what it feels like to each of us.
Absolutely. What does it mean to you? I mean, the artist was, Claude Monet was at the end of his life and looking at his Japanese garden in France when he painted this. He was thinking about how the audience receives that. How, when you back away from it, do these globs of paint become a really solid image? And here at the museum, we also want to engage our audience, have them see things that they recognize or identify with, and then have memorable experiences and conversations with their friends and family while they're here.
Well, and what I appreciate you saying too is having new conversations, even though we may be familiar with.
Right. There's a lot of old art here that it's timeless, and we try to use a lot of contemporary artists to sort of tap these very human and ongoing issues from immigration, displacement, climate change, belonging, multiculturalism, themes throughout history that are very relevant to us today. So we try to combine very contemporary art with historic art and have these conversations that are relevant.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
It's so great to see you again, Makanani. Thank you for being with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
You know, in your role at the mayor's office, you get a chance to see a lot of art.
Particularly with government, to be the head of the arts and culture office or department is sort of an abstract thought for people, right? Like, what do you do? Like, what does that have to do with city, municipal operations? Why is it important? But if you think of the fact that art is so central to who we are as people, then our department and our work becomes central to who we are as a city of Honolulu.
And you have specific projects, however, that you honcho.
Yes, I think the largest one and the one people will most know about is the Art in Public Places program. So every city building, every work of art that's in it, all of the monuments on city property. So for example, Prince Kuhio, Duke Kahanamoku, Kapi'olani at the park, those are all under our jurisdiction. So we do conservation, we do regular maintenance, and just assure that they're cared for properly.
And are they all local artists that are commissioned, or?
They are split. A lot of times we do a call for artists, and whoever the Commission on Culture and the Arts deems the best proposal, feasible-wise, that's who they will go with. So sometimes there are local artists, and other times there are others from the continental United States.
And you have other projects that are actually probably more visible to the public.
Yes, you're right. I think the one you're probably referring to is Honolulu City Lights. So when we came on in 2021, we got thrown the Honolulu City Lights project. So from our tiny office of 6, we basically work with all of the city departments to make that happen. And that takes up probably half of our year. We're already in talks now to present Honolulu City Lights for 2022. The other major project we have is the Sister City program. So our office deals with all of the international relations, dealing with the consulates locally and both abroad, in terms of partnering on educational programs, economic revitalization initiatives, anything of that sort. We're sort of the first touchstone for the city.
You know, many of us don't know about that because it's Chinatown, for instance, that's most visible. That's another project.
Yeah, Chinatown is one of the mayor's sort of 3 largest priorities. So for us, Chinatown became central to who we are as an administration. So in my role, what we are trying to do is really sort of help to revitalize. So the first departments to go in were facility maintenance, design and construction, parks, to really fix the infrastructure and cleaned up the roads, fix the tree issues, and try to do homeless outreach. But our job as arts and culture, and really with the Office of Economic Revitalization, was to create more opportunities, do more partnerships, so that now that we're at a place where Chinatown is a little bit in better infrastructural shape, how do we build and make Chinatown really vital and a center of life again, not just for downtown Honolulu, but for all local people?
Well, and when we travel downtown or in Chinatown, there are beautiful locations, beautiful architecture. It's very poetic. It's very artistic.
Yeah, for sure. I think Chinatown, obviously, it's one of the most historic architecturally places in all of Honolulu. I mean, there was a major fire there, in 1900, but a lot of the buildings got rebuilt, and so Chinatown is actually a special district for Honolulu. So it greatly reduces our ability to do certain types of art within Chinatown proper, but on the periphery of the special district, we have a bunch of projects in order to sort of liven up the place and put a new feel to it.
So if the city and county, from a government perspective, is focused on art as more than economics, what thoughts do you have that you can share with other communities to help support this?
I think arts and arts sort of supporting agencies, or like creative industry at large, is going to be really important for us moving forward. So not just the actual art that you're creating. For example, like our crew here is arts related, right? They are the lights, they are the cameras, and it touches so many other industries that the arts really is central to who we are economically. Even if tourism is still major, tourism is heavily relying on our ability to offer entertainment, to offer things that will bring people in, and those are all arts.
Honolulu, Hawaii, we have so much to offer the world with regards to art.
Oh, absolutely. I think just our geographic space, in the middle, sort of the gateway between what is the West and what is the East, but Hawaii also has all of Oceania and all of the really diverse indigenous people living there. So we have something, I think, to offer that no one else in the world does. So art is our way to communicate and to share these things in a simple way. I think Hawaii should really be central, and our arts scene should be something unlike anything in the world, which focuses on what we have that's different, not just Western, not just Far East art, but something also Oceania-centric.
What are some of the challenges that you face?
Wow. I mean, I think on a national level, we don't support arts in the way that other international destinations do. And I think that's just indicative of more of the national attitude towards arts, right? And the humanities in general. We've become very much a STEM-centric, STEM is really important, but without the arts and the humanities to balance, we are creating people who think perhaps less creatively because your education is not as broad and you're not taught as many ways of coming to one problem. Like, we know the more diverse a group you put together, the solutions become out of the box because everyone thinks differently, everyone has a different background. So I think arts and humanities really help us to do that.
Well, and here we sit in this beautiful garden with the fountain and the birds and the wind. Nature's art.
Absolutely. I mean, the shadow on the ground is art. Your fashion is art. The person who created these chairs, everything is an art form, right? These are people who are experts in their fields. So to allow them the space and the support in the way that we do support sort of the hard sciences, I think it's really important to who we are as people.
Some closing words for our audience.
Well, I think whenever you have the opportunity to experience art, music, museums, to support local kids in art exhibitions, to enroll your children in piano or hula or jiu-jitsu, take it because it really enriches who you are and it helps your children and us as people to, sort of enlarge our view of the world, which is what art, I think, really brings for us.
And art can be fun as well and fulfilling.
I mean, I think that's just sort of a side benefit. Is art is there to be fun, right? It should be something enjoyable for your soul that enriches your life.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. Thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you for listening to my conversation with Makanani Salā, Executive Director with the Mayor's Office on Culture and the Arts. So we're sitting in the cafe that's very familiar to me.
Yes, welcome back. I know we had you here
Thank you.
a couple weeks ago or so. So for first-time viewers, the cafe has been here for over 50 years in the museum. We serve island-inspired cuisine with a focus on Pacific Mediterranean food and try to always carry local and organic whenever possible.
So local means?
Well, we try to procure as many ingredients as we can that are sourced locally, including like all of our salad greens or waipole greens from Maui. We source hō'ula tomatoes. Our fish as well, we get from local fisheries out here in Hawaii. Because we are also members of the Ocean Friendly Restaurant Program through the Surfrider Foundation and also the Hawaii Agriculture Foundation. So these are organizations that are kind of helping to promote businesses that are trying to stay green and sustainable and utilize local when possible. And that falls right in line with what we're about as well.
Well, it's wonderful to hear because in addition to being a comfortable and safe place, it's delicious.
Yeah, I mean, the space itself is open air, so it's been a really nice place for people to come during the pandemic era. It feels really open and spacious and breezy. Yeah, the food is very fitting. It's mostly salads and sandwiches, but we also have like a pasta of the day and a few entrees, including steak and salmon. So we kind of can hit all the marks. On Sunday, we do a really nice brunch. So a lot of breakfast items available then. And then on the nighttime, on Friday and Saturday, we have our HoMA nights where we have live music and entertainment in the cafe and a special evening menu as well and a full bar set up.
Fun.
Yes, it's a great place to come day or night.
Thank you for being with us today, Ka'ili. You know, I've learned about you as a child, as a champion swimmer, and now as an artist. It's really an honor to meet you.
Oh, Lyla, this is so special. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you this afternoon and just to share some thoughts and catch up a little bit.
Especially in a place like this that honors art. Tell us a little bit more about the artwork that you do.
I'm generally known as an installation artist, so it's a genre of art that is non-media specific. It's usually multi-component. It usually occupies a lot of space, whether it's located within the gallery walls or somewhere outside. The content of my work is based and founded upon Native Hawaiian perspective, issues that are relevant to this time, to the place that I happen to be showing at or in. It delves into different layers of concern, you know, from the indigenous perspective, but also from, you know, a global kind of human perspective as well.
Well, from what I've seen, it's fairly non-traditional. And how did
Yes.
you find yourself in this genre?
I have a background in architecture. I have an undergraduate degree from Princeton in architecture. And I kind of floated around and didn't really figure it out until later in life. Then I decided, I need to get another degree. What can I do? So at the time, I had been mentored by Toshiko Takaezu, who was a professor at Princeton and also from here. She's a very famous ceramicist, and we have her in the collection here at the Honolulu Museum of Art. She's currently in the Venice Biennale in Venice, Italy. I'm so grateful for the opportunities that she opened up to me. Very grateful for her mentorship.
So you have someone from Hawaii
Yes.
in your college time that introduced you to a genre you didn't know, and now you're doing the same thing. You know, as you're an instructor at KCC in a general
Yes.
art class. It must be very challenging for you to be inside a room with young people who might be thinking that art is a certain way.
Yes, that it is a challenge to come into a ceramics class and not think about it as a pottery class, but truly as an introduction to critical thinking, developing and creating different strategies for life through projects that challenge a student to really you know, think about the technical aspects, but more importantly, the conceptual aspects of art and thinking.
And I would imagine it's also challenging because these young folks that you have in your community college are coming out of high schools that don't necessarily focus on fine arts,
Yes,
that
right.
may not look at art as part of life.
It's really important that our public schools especially develop a stronger curriculum for art within, you know, from elementary through high school, because it only serves to enrich their education, enrich their understanding about the environment in which they live, and also to develop ways of looking at the world that you cannot understand except through art. And I think that's when they come to me, you know, we have to kind of found them again, you know, place a foundation for them to kind of step on and engage with.
And it must be a challenge helping them to unlearn and unpack who they really are.
Yes, you know, that's probably one of the most gratifying, you know, aspects of teaching is that, you know, they may not know how to visualize in a new language, right? The visual language, who they are, where they come from, and you know, where they're gonna go. It's really important to understand, I think, identity. It's a critical aspect of life for me as a Native Hawaiian, but it's really important and really gratifying to see that they can figure out and develop strategies for learning where they come from,
And
who they
living
are.
life.
Yeah, and absolutely,
Yeah.
and living life.
Thank you so much for the work that you're doing, as challenging as it might be, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
We've just had the pleasure of speaking with Ka'ili Chan, artist and lecturer at KCC. Mahalo for tuning into Island Focus. I'm Lyla Berg. On behalf of the Island Focus crew and the entire team at Ōlelo Community Media, aloha and malama pono. See you soon.